PCC students, what is going on today? Welcome back to another online experience with y'all. It is crazy. It is crazy that we're still here. I didn't imagine back in March or even like late February when this started to get real that we might still be doing this. But hey, you know what? Like I said last week, I am happy to do it because I'm happy to still be here with those of y'all that are still staying at home, trying to socially distance. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that in a lot of cases it's not even necessarily for you. You're just trying to keep other people safe. So I appreciate that a lot. So I'm glad to do this. Glad to do this with y'all. Glad to be here. And glad to not be outside at the moment. Because right now it feels like an oven outside. I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I don't do very well with the heat. I just don't. It is something that I've always not done well with. I prefer, call me a millennial, call me young. I prefer the indoors. I prefer the air conditioner, let's say that. I really actually do like the outdoors. But it needs to be like mid to late fall, all the way through like early to mid-spring. Pretty much mid-spring to early fall. Nope. You can catch me inside unless we get like a randomly mild day, particularly these past 2 weeks. It has been, I don't know, what feels like 100 degrees like every single day with almost no rain. So anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather, all right? I'm just letting you know that I appreciate being inside with you. However, I will say, and you might actually hear some rustling going on behind me, or like that way, not literally behind me because that's a wall, but behind the camera. Because Ellis Hobson is actually here at the Powhatan campus, which is where I'm doing this from, getting ready for the movie night tonight. Now, by 7 o'clock, it should have cooled down a little bit more. There will be vastly more shade than there was even just an hour ago. And you have time to make it. If you're just at home because you're enjoying the outside, but you have been wanting to come back, you've been ready to come back to hang out, they're watching a movie outside, under the portico, in your own chair, socially distant. There will be snacks like popcorn, candy, drinks, all, sort of prepackaged for you, so you don't have to dig in with other people and all that. But that's happening in, 5:30? Yeah, that's happening in an hour and a half. So you have time to get up here to be a part of this. It's going to be really sweet. I'm really excited for it. We've been out there actually a little bit setting it up. So I think you'll want to be a part of it. If you need the address, just let me know in the chat. I'll give it to you, and I can even type it in the chat myself if somebody wants it to get up here, because it would be sweet. It would be awesome for you to come. I would love it. Ellis would love it. It'd be a good time. Speaking of, over 30 people, or right at 30 students, came to last week's Hangout, which is so awesome. It was like, I walked out of the room after I was doing this and saw students in the atrium, in the lobby. I was like, I was so happy. I was so happy to see students again. So happy to see you guys again. And about 30 of y'all came. So that was excellent. Most excellent. And I hope that you'll keep coming. That's only at the Powhatan campus. Like I said, Midlothian's having their own events too. You can get in contact with Lindsay Stetler for that. That would be really sweet. I would really appreciate that. And I know she would too. If you're out in Midlow, that would be awesome. If you're at Riverside or at Farmville or at Amelia and you're watching this, you can come be a part of what's going on at Powhatan for right now. Or, like I said, of course, continue to do this because I'll be here each week. So, yeah. If you didn't catch last week's, I want to let you know that the format, I'm not going to get too far into this just to waste your time, but the format of this online experience isn't so much changing. It's more just condensing. So we've realized that through internet fatigue, or you actually do want to be outside, or you're going to see your friends, or you actually have a little leeway to get on vacation or stay places. What's up? You can come in. I told him that you might come in. So yeah, you might, say what up.
What up?
It's Ellis. It's your boy. Yeah, so anyway, as I was saying, you might, I realize that because of internet fatigue and being able to go other places now, at least a little more, we notice that the viewership of this has fallen off. In fact, this is what's going on right now is kind of indicative of that. So with that, we're going to condense it to like about a 15 to 30 minute experience, where I'm just pretty much going to talk about whatever God's put on my heart, and maybe follow up with last week's message, or like I guess today's, because I record these on Sunday afternoon. So the message that we got at church this morning, or like last week, I really didn't talk about the message at all, just talked about something different. But this week I'm going to talk about that for the next, 10 minutes or so, or again, however long I have thoughts on it, however long God has put thoughts on it in my mind, and then we'll be done. So that's it. This should be nice, though, because you'll be able to come back and catch it at a time that's convenient for you, and you won't have to invest like a whole hour to do it. You know what I mean? So that should be good. But if you weren't here this morning, we continued our Fire in My Bones series, which is a really awesome series concept. By the way, I really like it. Essentially, it comes from a scripture in Jeremiah, chapter 20, verse 9, where Jeremiah, who's being ridiculed and being sort of made fun of for sharing his faith with other people, or sharing what God is telling him, because he was a prophet. So God gave him missions to tell his people information that God wanted him to get across, whether it was sort of, I love you, or you've wronged me and there's going to be consequences, or everything in between, really. Jeremiah was one of a lot of prophets who did this, and so he's getting ridiculed, nobody's listening to him or whatever. So in chapter 20, he's talking to God, and he's basically lamenting the fact that that's happening. But then he says, but if I should not mention you or speak any more in your name, your word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. And he says, I'm weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. Basically saying, look, even if I wanted to stop talking about you, even if I wanted to stop, even if I told myself I wasn't going to do it anymore, I wouldn't be able to keep it in, because it's like a fire inside me that has to come out. So his passion was evident and radiant, and that's what we're going for with the series. Brian Hughes, the senior pastor at Passion Community Church, asked all the teaching pastors, hey, if there was one thing that you could talk about that wasn't the salvation message, what would it be? That wasn't like Jesus, saving us. What would it be? So we all got to pick our different things, our different topics, and I'm really excited about it. Brian talked this week about Galatians 5, verse 6. And this is the second half of it. It says, the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. Let me say it again. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. So Brian talked about these things sort of being in a tandem. He actually used the term conjoined twins. You see, you can't adequately have faith if it's not expressing itself through love. And love doesn't really mean much. It's not going to have any everlasting change on anybody's life, or anybody's life and afterlife, without faith, because how can it be a complete love if it's not tapping into the God who is love, the God who made love? And so he explored that idea really well, and of course he's passionate about it, so he lives it, and he talked about it really well. I just want to expound on it just a little bit, and sort of talk about how it could manifest in your life, how it could manifest in our lives. Because Brian is a full-fledged adult. His daughter just turned 30, you know what I mean? So, his daughter is older than pretty much anybody who this video is meant for. She's older than me, actually. So, needless to say, he's in a different stage of life than you are, probably. So, how do his words mean the same thing for you, particularly when you have less contact with other people because of social distancing, and that school stuff is still up in the air? So, how does it work for us? Well, basically, how I like to look at it is my belief in Jesus, my faith in Jesus is everything for me. So I don't have any props around me, or I would use them. But imagine the solar system, okay? Just stay with me here. And the sun is in the dead center. And then, I can use this camera. I can use this camera lens cover as the sun. So the sun is in the dead center, and then all the planets, are orbiting the sun. And you can orbit however you want. Doesn't matter. Usually, when we think about it, whether we say it or not, this lens cap is me or you. In our lives, you would say it would just have a big me written on it. So it says there's nobody here. The number could be wrong, and it doesn't matter. Like I said, I could just talk to the camera all day about this stuff. So it's not a big deal. So my point is when I say a name, I'm not calling anybody out. But let's say I'm talking about a kid named Josh. In the center of his universe, his priorities, what matters to Josh most, the sun would probably, for most people, would say Josh. Right? That's how our society kind of teaches us to be, right? You look out for number one, meaning you. Treat yourself. You're the top priority. That's what society wants to teach us. So this would say Josh, and then somewhere out here, one of the planets orbiting would be God. It could be God, sports, girlfriend or boyfriend, family, friends, parents, video games, fashion. Like, I don't care. Just stuff that you care about, stuff that's meaningful to you. And a lot of the times we think that God getting closer and closer to the center is the goal. Like, oh, God is the most inner planet. I care about God the most. And therefore I'm on the right track. Well, that's not what faith, like in your real life, somebody who's really actually devoted to Jesus, that's not what it would look like. The sun would say Jesus or God. And yeah, you might be pretty close to the center yourself. Josh might be out here, but the sun is Jesus. The sun is God. And so my whole point is my faith is everything for me. And I don't always get this right. There are some times where I look out for me, or if I feel like God's calling me to do something, I get nervous and I maybe don't do it. And in that moment, I sort of take God out for a second and put myself in the middle. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying I'm certainly perfect at this. My aim is for Jesus to be in the dead center, the sun. So I'll be done with this now. Thank you. So that's my aim. So faith expressing itself through love becomes easy when you're like that, because everything that you do revolves around Jesus. And if it really does revolve around Jesus, then no matter where I am, whether I'm at work, playing music or teaching from the platform or doing this right now, like that's the obvious stuff. But when I go to the grocery store, or when I hang out with friends, or when I go, to the DMV, or when I go to school or anything, it just flows out of me because the center is Jesus. Aiden Conrad, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Welcome. So the center is Jesus, and therefore it just naturally flows out. Like, that's the goal. But as Brian mentioned in his message, faith isn't about just getting my point across, about telling people that God is real, and if they don't believe me, either A, trying to convince them, or B, judging them for not believing it. That's not what faith is. Now, yes, we're supposed to, as Jesus says in Matthew, go and make disciples of all nations. So, like, we are trying to get people to believe in Jesus and his message and what he's done for them and what he's still doing for them and his plan for the world. Like, that's what we're trying to do. But we're supposed to do it through love. Faith expressing itself through love. And there are so many ways that this can manifest itself. But the point is in every situation, every day, every moment, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, whenever it is, it doesn't matter. If our faith is real, then the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love, loving other people. We talked about this at length just probably a month ago on this platform. Jesus talking about the greatest commandments and love God and love your neighbor. Both of them have love in it. Both of them have love in it. And if you're going to love God, you're going to do what he says. And so that's faith working itself out through love. So I guess my point is this. If we're going to be people who who have faith expressing itself through love, you hear the order there, right? It's not love expressing itself through faith. So this is the last thing I'll say about it, really, because this is a whole nother tangent that I literally just thought of that I could go down for a while. But it's not love expressing itself through faith. You see, that would mean that like we're just loving people just because God told us to, right? Like we're checking it off of our faith checklist, if you will. It's like, oh, go to church. Check. Oh, love somebody today. Check. You know, that would be love expressing itself through faith. Because all it would be like a prerequisite or a requirement that I was doing in order to satisfy my requirements for believing in God. And I hope that made sense because it just sort of came off the top. No, this says faith expressing itself through love, meaning you're going to just love people first. And because of your love for them, because of a love that doesn't make any sense to the people around you, a love that loves the people who are hurting, the people who have made mistakes, the people who are far from God, when we love them, that's what's going to shine our faith through. Because they might not ask it directly, but they're going to be like, why is this person, if they are the person, they're like, why is this person hanging out with me? I'm so bad. Like, why would they be here with me? And then it might open the door for a conversation, or at least get them thinking to hear from God. Or people from the outside are going to be like, why is he hanging out with that person? Or, wow, that's really awesome that they're together. And all of that is going to point back to your faith. But it sounds to me, if I'm interpreting it, faith expresses itself through love, meaning love is the vehicle for people to understand your faith. It's not the other way around. It's not faith is the vehicle for people to feel loved. It's love is the vehicle so people can know your faith, know, oh, why would I love like this? Because I know the God who is love. I know the God who made love. I know the God who loves me more than anybody does or could. So, yeah, I encourage you to read all of Galatians. It's actually a very short book. It's only 6 chapters, and it's written by Paul, so there's a lot of good stuff in there, and particularly Galatians chapter 5, which is where this verse is. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. I hope you'll read that, and I hope you'll practice it. Again, I know it's hard, and we might probably end up continuing talking about this next week as well, because it's just a really great topic. Even though I'm actually teaching on the platform in the big room next week, so I might end up doing more conversation there instead. I don't know. I'm going to just sort of pray about it and see where God takes me. But I hope that you will think about ways to keep this in your mind as you go. Because it could be on a Zoom call. You can show somebody you love them on a Zoom call. You can show a classmate. Let's say schools don't go back, and I don't have any information, but let's say you do learning from home, again, on your laptop or your computer or whatever. Distance learning, I think they call it. You can still have faith express itself through love, even through a Zoom call, even through the classroom. When you're polite, when you're courteous, when you're attentive, when you're encouraging to your classmates, that can all be an act of love. And through that, through repeated instances of that to the same group of people, or, you know, even people that you don't know, that can begin to express your faith to them as you love them. They might be able to see your heart, see who you are, and ask, hey, like, why are you being like this? Why are you being so nice? Or you seem to care so much. I really appreciate it. That can begin the conversation. Well, you know why? Right. It's because It's because of Jesus. It's because it's what he's done for me. So I hope that you will take that with you. I hope that you have an awesome day, the rest of your day. I hope you have an awesome week. And I hope that if you still want to or feel like you have time or maybe didn't know about it, that you'll come up here to the Powhatan campus in like about an hour to watch a movie with us. We're going to be outside under the portico, got a screen set up and everything, so we can stay distance and be outside and everything like that. Yeah, I hope you'll come. Until next time, though, I will see you guys around. Bye-bye.